The Hamas attack on Israel has overnight shattered the fragile truce with the Palestinians. Bloomberg writes, when the Saudis were already ready to make peace in exchange for U.S. security guarantees, the Netanyahu government had another reason for war. It turns out that Hamas had veto power over diplomatic relations and grand strategy of the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, the three countries trying to keep a low profile and at the dictation of the White House, were slowly working toward a trilateral agreement that could have reshaped the geopolitical order in the region and beyond, but their agreement would have left the Palestinians out of the picture. So Hamas, the most aggressive group representing Palestinian interests, decided to blow things up, in the most literal sense. In the past 24 hours, Hamas has fired thousands of rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel, killing dozens of Israelis and making parts of Ashkelon and other cities look like Ukraine after artillery shelling. At the same time, Hamas militants have infiltrated Israel by land, sea and air, turning Israelis into hostages in their own homes. "We are in a state of war," said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, when the Israeli army had already returned fire on the Gaza Strip. Neither Bibi himself nor his coalition partners have ever needed long to be persuaded to take tough action against the Palestinians or build new Israeli settlements on Palestinian land in the West Bank. This time, Netanyahu's ultranationalist government has the perfect excuse for war, an excuse that allows it to do whatever it wants, but according to the twisted logic that dominates the region. What is happening is also in Hamas's interests. The Palestinians have been unhappy with the slow rapprochement between their supposed patrons in the land of Mecca and Medina, the Saudis and the Israelis, which has been taking place under the watch of US President Joe Biden's administration. The Saudis have never recognized Israel as a nation and have always officially sided with the Palestinians. Meanwhile, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is seeking to change his country's position in global power politics. He sees his worst enemies in the region as Iran, not Israel, and to find partners, he may accept an offer from either China or the United States, as the two countries vie with each other for global supremacy. So the Crown Prince has expressed his willingness to consider a bold plan proposed by the Biden administration. The Saudis could make a formal and genuine peace with Israel in exchange for American security guarantees and help with civilian nuclear technology, and Israel could move another Arab country, the most important of the Arab countries, from its list of enemies to its list of partners. It would also promise to treat the Palestinians better, though it's unclear what exactly that might translate into. Meanwhile, the United States would be able to push China out of the region and lay the foundations for an alliance that would help contain Iran. At the same time, Washington would be able to use this new leverage to mend relations with Tehran. The weakest links in this scheme were the Israeli government and the Palestinians. Netanyahu's coalition partners do not believe in a two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and they would prefer to absorb the West Bank in its entirety, even if this required a de facto apartheid regime. But the Palestinians knew that even Riyadh paid little attention to their interests. Whether viewed from the Gaza Strip or the West Bank, the situation was about to get worse. So Hamas has lit the fuses, of which there are infinitely more in the region. The fragile truce between Israelis and Palestinians is over. The spirals of hatred and suffering are spiraling again, and the pressure on the Saudis and other countries to help their Arab brothers puts a pause on any further warming in their relations with Israel. Just last month, the tourism minister became the first Israeli cabinet official to make a public visit to Saudi Arabia. He traveled to a conference held in Riyadh. It was one of many small steps that Washington assumed would lead to a larger deal. Now that gesture seems to have been left far behind in a very different era. The United States now has no choice but to call for restraint on all sides, Hamas as well as Bibi, the Crown Prince and the rest. Meanwhile, Biden's grand strategy for the Middle East has been, if not burned, at least scorched by fire. The White House is already facing a host of difficulties trying to persuade the US Congress to continue supporting Ukraine while Republicans in the House of Representatives attack each other and undermine their own positions. Now, these same scandalmongers will accuse Biden of showing excessive softness on Iran, excessive indecision on Israel, and the lack of firmness on Middle East policy. Hamas did not just hit Israel with rockets. The consequences of its attack will be felt even in Washington and beyond.